everyone's okay at home and having fun playing their favorite games. This week you'll hear me bark some interesting information about a next-gen console and a game that disappointed but now seems to make a small move in the right direction. That being mentioned, let's dive into it. It looks like Bethesda sure made a very small step in the right direction with the new Wastelanders update. Now, as you all know, Fallout 76 was one of the most disastrous game launches in gaming history, and since then it was always referenced in articles and posts as a bad game and a project that was managed horribly by Bethesda. Well, Wastelanders update released on 14 April. First impressions are in, and it looks like Fallout 76 is finally making some good impression on its fans. And it's not just me talking out of a long nostalgia with this particular post-apocalyptic universe. It actually shows on Steam in the review section, where all of these reviews finally managed to get the game a mostly positive rating. So it took a disastrous launch, a terrible fan backlash, and a lot of articles in which they were referred to as the how not to do model before they finally made amends and came up with a free update for the fans that bought the game. And finally gave Fallout 76 what it should have had from the very beginning, and that is human NPCs and a plot, some real story. Don't get me wrong, I'm not praising Bethesda. It still has a long way to go for many gamers to regain some amount of trust. Anyway, Bethesda still has a lot to do with Fallout 76 and make an example out of this game, just like No Man's Sky is right now. But as mentioned before, it's at least a small step in the right direction for a gaming universe that a lot of players, including myself, care about. So once again, Bloomberg breaks the ice in gaming news and comes forth with a sad article for PlayStation fans. Now, first things first. Although this is a big news site and it usually has good sources for its articles, it's also important to note the fact that they got their information from an unnamed group of people. So take this information with a grain of salt. Now, according to the article, Sony told their assembly partners to limit the initial production down to 5 or 6 million units. And that's bad news. As the article continues to point out, PlayStation 4 in November 2013 sold 7.5 million units in the first 2 quarters. And I don't know if anyone remembers, but at launch it was pretty hard to get your hands on a PlayStation 4. So yes, this means PlayStation 5 will probably be even harder to get if what Bloomberg is reporting on turns out to be true. Not to mention that with such a low number of units being produced, there's also a very big possibility that players from some countries around the world will probably have to wait a long while after the release till they have the possibility of buying a new PlayStation from their local retailers. The reason for the limited production is in part because of PlayStation 5's ambitious specs that will weigh on demand by leading to high prices at launch, and of course there's also the current pandemic, which according to the article has consequences on Sony's promotional plans, but not on their production capacity. With this being pointed out as the cause, the article also mentions that the game developers that are working on PlayStation 5 titles anticipate a price per unit at approximately $499 to $549. Now, this is about the only good news from this article. Cause the truth is that considering the capabilities that a PlayStation 5 is expected to offer, and I mean 60 frames per second and 4K resolutions, like its rival Xbox X Series, this price for these specs would actually be okay, especially if you consider the price for a PC with the same capabilities. However, this is mostly speculation. Who knows if Sony manages to deliver at this estimated price? The article also points this out, saying that the component cost could push up the price required for Sony to break even. Well, there's no point in telling you who's going to benefit from this situation. Of course, that's if Xbox doesn't run into its own issues with its production capacity, but that's another story. We just hope Bloomberg's article will turn out to be wrong, and both Sony and Xbox do manage to deliver their next-gen consoles to all the gamers that want them, and with a decent price tag. With that, feel free to tell us what price tag should the next-gen consoles come with. We'd love to interact with you in our comment section.